Tonight's video, I'm going to be talking about how I found my authentic self. So I've been told by a lot of people recently, and it's something I've been doing on purpose. Wow, you're so authentic. Wow, that's so authentic. That's vulnerable. Like, it's really cool how you could just like be yourself. And I think a lot of people truthfully kind of suck at being themselves. Like truthfully, they're just like, you're just like not very good at being yourself. And I don't think anybody wants that. Nobody that's around you wants that. None of your friends, none of your family. Like, we want you, for you. Not what we think you should be. Not what we want you to be. Not what society wants you to be. But you truly. And I think I've done a pretty good job, if I could say so myself, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I'm on the spectrum of it's how authentic are you? And I think I'm getting even closer to my true, raw, authentic self, especially online. Because I think it's easy for a lot of people to be authentic when they're around maybe their family, the closest people in their life. Maybe it's their best friends. But when it comes to work scenarios, meeting people they just met for the first time, or maybe even like chasing their true dreams, maybe it's making content, because these days in this day and age, like there's a lot of influencers. So the first kind of point there is I stopped thinking in terms of niches and interests. And I think for a while when I was doing fitness coaching, for those of you who don't know, I used to do fitness coaching. Like if you scroll back on my videos, you'll see like health and fitness related content. I would think in terms of like, I gotta be this fitness guy. I gotta talk about this. And it's like, it became kind of wrapped into my identity. It was like, I used to be in a fraternity in college, so that was my identity. And then I was like, got into high ticket sales and was doing like online remote sales, and that became my identity. And then I got into the fitness thing, and then that became my identity. And then like more recently when I stopped that, I just started to really like take a pause, and I was like, instead of thinking in terms of like niches and interests and business and industry, it's just like, who am I really? What do I really like to talk about? Because guess what? I'm actually fascinated by drugs. And I also like to party and like to live carefree. And like sometimes that doesn't align with being like the health guy and the healthiest guy and the fitness guy, whatever. So it's like, it was like incongruent, and it freaked me out, and it made me like feel super inauthentic and like out of alignment with myself, because I felt like it was a battle between like, who am I really? And then like, who am I kind of like boxing myself in to be? So I would consider that when you're thinking about what this is for yourself, what are the things that you truly vibe with that are super true and authentic to who you are deep down, that maybe you are stifling or burying or covering up because it doesn't align with this identity version of yourself that you've created or someone has created for you. So I think that's one thing. Another thing that you can think of that I think is really important is I think a lot of times we tend to align ourselves with the things that we are naturally good at. So I would want you to think, and I would encourage you to think about like, what are you naturally good at? What are you better at than almost anyone? I really respect this guy who I watched on a podcast recently, and he basically said something that hit so deep. He said, it's my belief that everybody has probably one, maybe two things that they are like virtually better at than anyone else. Like almost like naturally, like think of it like a God-given talent or somebody's unique zone of genius, right? Some of the classic examples, of course, singing, sports, maybe it's business, math, but it could also be like super niche shit, like styling people's clothes. It could be like fashion, like whatever. It's just like your thing. And I think a lot of times as we grow up in society, pop culture, corporate America, capitalism, etc., a lot of those things that we're like naturally good at, we tend to like compartmentalize, put in a box, shove in the corner, or just flat out ignore. But ultimately, I think your authenticity will come through with those things that you're naturally good at. So one thing that you can do, and on part of my journey when I was doing a ton of self-reflecting and trying to figure out my next move in life, what I really wanted to do, what's authentic to me, what gets me fired up, is you can ask some of the people closest to you in your life, like your parents, if you're close to your parents, could be other family members, could be your best friends, could be people that you work with, and you basically say like, what am I better at? than anyone else. You know, another way to put it, which is one of my best friends framed this for me, which was amazing, which would be like, you know, we'll say for me, for example, it's like, what is the circumstance or scenario or industry or topic or whatever that if we created a competition and it was going to be me, Cooper, versus someone else, and it could just be anyone else, what is that thing that you would feel bad for the person that has to go against me? Because you know in your heart of hearts, you're just like, oh, Cooper has got it. Whatever this thing is, it could be like random. It could be like debating. It could be like talking about this topic. It could be something like sports or athleticism. Like it could be whatever. Just be like, what would it be that like you would genuinely feel bad for whoever is going up in competition against you? Because like they will never be able to compete. It's like, what is that thing? You with almost no practice or specific like knowledge or expertise are just naturally better at and gifted and know more about than pretty much anyone else. So that's another way that you can think about that. Another way is like, what would I do regardless of what anyone else thought for fun? If someone handed me $100 million, what would I do then? Or if money wasn't a real thing, if I didn't have to have a regular job, what would I do? What do I stay up late researching? What is my YouTube search history? Like, what do I nerd out about? What am I just genuinely, naturally interested in? Regardless of whether it makes money, regardless of whether it's cool, because that's only based on someone else's opinion anyways, which is irrelevant because we're finding what's authentic for you and you alone. So those are good ways. Right? Like if you had to say like, fuck society, fuck my friends, fuck my family, fuck my parents, fuck pop culture. Like, what would I do? How would I act? What would I say if I could never be judged? What would I talk about if I could? You know? And another thing as well, which is another point, a separate topic, and one thing that I had to remind myself of, and I think it's a great reminder for you out there who might be watching this video, is hopefully, unless you're a complete loner that has like no friends, no relationship to your family, which side note, I feel bad for you and I think there's still hope. But aside from that, which most people are not in that category, let's be honest, remember this. Everybody who loves you loves you. Your friends love you for you because you don't have to be anyone else other than yourself when you're around them. Your family who you're close with, they love for you. And they're not that unique. And so remember, if they love you for you, why wouldn't everyone else? Or why wouldn't tons of other people? It's not to say you're going to be loved and accepted by everyone, but if the people who are closest to you, who you're able to be vulnerable and like show who you truly are, if they accept you, why wouldn't others? Like, you really think your friends and your family are that crazy? It's just like, it's so weird that they like accept me. It's like, no, you're probably a pretty cool person that is totally acceptable and awesome being your authentic self. So just remember that. Whether you just want to be better and be authentic when you're meeting new people or when you're on a date or if you're posting online or whatever it is, right? Like for me, I'll just be honest. I'm not trying to be cocky. Like I've noticed I'm a well-liked guy in my social life, in my social circle. That's one of my unique abilities is actually getting people to like me and kind of being able to influence and win people over and things like that. And so like when I thought about just being my authentic self on camera, being vulnerable, saying whatever the fuck I want, being funny, talking about my personality, giving my hot takes on opinions that people might not like, I'm like, all my friends and like my people in real life fuck with me. They love it. Why wouldn't everyone else? Or not everyone, but why wouldn't like thousands of people, hundreds on the internet? You know, it makes sense. And the last point, and I'll leave it here, is just heavily question what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because I think it's very easy to get caught in, I'm doing this because I think that I should. I'm doing this thing for this reason. It's just like, you got to check yourself sometimes. I was diving deep into business, building businesses, bootstrapping, starting my own fitness company. But when I really took an honest look at it, I was like, I don't even fucking like business. Like, not really. I like it because it's attached to money, and I think that it's like a means to the end of me having freedom and all this other things that I want. But like, I don't really fucking like business. So I had to really question myself, and then I realized I'm like, all you care about is this, the end, right? The freedom and maybe the money and status and girls and all the things that like I want to have happen in my life and be successful in, right? But realistically, the means to get there, there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different ways to get those things. And I was so focused on like building a business. And when I really like started to question what I was doing and why I was doing it, I was like, fuck, I don't care. The only reason I'm doing this thing is because I think it's gonna get me this. So think about what you're doing. Think about what you actually want. Is there a different, better, faster way to actually get there? Much love. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, join the conversation down below. I want to hear your thoughts. I'm open to your opinions. Hate, love, feedback, devil's advocate. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Cheers.